Good evening. Thank you all for being here, and welcome to the CEL event as part of the Biennial of the Americas. Our co-sponsors for this evening's symposium have been instrumental in helping put all this together and bringing everyone who you're going to hear here in just a minute. So I make sure you get a chance to see them. Each one of them has an important mission that relates to tonight's discussion. Now, tonight we have a remarkable program with 5 of the foremost experts from across the Western Hemisphere in terms of security. But first, we'd like to do a United States salute in celebration of this event, so please stand for the national anthem and the presentation of the colors.
Colors! Halt! Hands! Heads! Halt! Colors, turn! Halt!
I apologize, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm John Hickenlooper, the mayor of Denver. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Biennial of the Americas is a celebration of the unique culture and ideas of the people of the Western Hemisphere by bringing together leaders from the 35 nations from Canada all the way down to the tip of Chile, from all the Western Hemisphere, and bring them together with arts and cultural programming, with ideas around innovation. We hope to raise awareness and facilitate understanding, promote collaboration and trade. The great diversity of the Americas is going to be on display the entire month, and I certainly encourage you to, as often as possible, participate in the incredible forums and events and other activities. Tonight's event, I think, highlights how we can work together in all sorts of issues, and especially around how we can work together to stop terrorism through transnational security. The proliferation of terrorist attacks continues to shock the world. It reminds us that our world as we know it is by no means a tranquil place. While traditional disputes and conflicts touched off by ethnic, religious, territorial, or natural resource problems keep cropping up, non-traditional security threats posed by terrorism, illicit drug trafficking, alien smuggling are increasingly pronounced. Given their global presence and their global nature, these challenges cannot be resolved by relying on the resources and the strength of a single country. Global problems, by necessity, require global solutions. To cope with the threats and challenges of terrorism, many countries are examining how they can work together to find real solutions to the problem. They have stepped up the dialogue and cooperation at both the multilateral and bilateral levels. I think the greatest test in the 21st century is going to be the ability of nations to work collectively to meet the challenges of this new security order. National security has become, in every way, interdependent with global security, and it really is now at the forefront of our national diplomacy. Presenting continued opportunities, this diplomacy is presenting continued opportunities to find common ground, points of collaboration, ways that we can work together. We've taken considerable steps and measures here in Denver to cooperate with local, state, and national authorities to make sure that we keep our city safe. This endeavor requires cooperation at every level, including the need for that transnational security cooperation. Not only do our day-to-day operations require domestic and international coordination, but Denver really has become a hotspot for international events, including such as the one that you're participating in tonight. As you do international events, there becomes a greater responsibility to really be aware of the threat and to really enhance our capabilities to ensure our community's safety. Educational forums like this one and others that the cell puts on continue to bring to light this necessary level of awareness and help to educate in this endeavor. The Counterterrorism Education Learning Lab, the CEL, is our co-host tonight, and they really have been the forefront of this. They're a nonprofit organization in Denver dedicated to addressing these threats and really combating terrorism. The CEL educates and raises awareness about these issues through its renowned exhibit, Anyone, Anytime, Anywhere, Understanding the Threat of Terrorism. If you haven't seen it across from the Denver Art Museum, you should take the next opportunity to really experience it. And the CEL also puts together educational programming and a speaker series. The CEL has received not just local but national recognition. It's been praised by the Department of Homeland Security. I was talking a couple weeks ago with Secretary of Homeland Security Janet Napolitano. One of the first things she said was, well, how is the CEL doing? I was so impressed when I was there. Just today, the Community Outreach Award was given by the Colorado Department of Public Safety to the CEL for their great contributions. So certainly want to thank Larry Meisel, the founder of the CEL, for his work to educate the public on the threat of terrorism and really for making tonight's discussions take place, but for all the efforts to build bridges, not walls, but bridges, so that we can have a deeper and more pervasive understanding of how terrorism really works, and in so doing, be prepared to combat it. In a moment, Larry will be up here himself and introduce the moderator of this evening's event. But before he does that, we'd like to show a short video that we'd like you to see. So thank you again all for being here and really giving this important subject your time and attention.
terrorism has no borders and affects many facets of society, both domestically and globally.
This was a deadly ambush, carefully planned.
It was one of the worst attacks against Spanish civilians.
The worst terrorist attack in Britain.
The bomb which killed 52 people.
After mysterious fumes of poison gas,
I heard from my car a very loud
Big bomb. Come down the steps.
It was just horrible. I just want to get out.
Terrorism impacts every ideology, nationality, and religion. The lives of people throughout the United States and around the world are equally affected by terrorism. The Center for Empowered Living and Learning is a nonprofit, nonpartisan institution dedicated to addressing the most salient issue of our time, terrorism. The cell's exhibit, Anyone, Anytime, Anywhere, Understanding the Threat of Terrorism, provides a comprehensive look at the challenges that civilized societies face, offering educational opportunities and experiences that help audiences explore their own beliefs and values, empowering them to proactively affect change.
Terrorists don't share a common ideology. What terrorists do share is a common mindset.
Many terrorists, be they international or domestic, they're looking for a target of opportunity to make the biggest statement they can make.
Throughout the exhibit, the visitor learns about the history of terrorism and its global reach. The cell explores the evolution of terrorism and how it has been influenced by technological advances and ideological shifts. Learn how terrorism directly affects children and how terrorist organizations produce and manipulate media to spread their message, recruit members, incite violence, and plan attacks.
This terrorism isn't our fault. We didn't cause it. It is an attack on our way of life.
Hear the voices from around the world that are speaking out against terrorism and about the tools that are available to you to combat it.
It doesn't take courage to shoot a policeman in the back of the head.
No one is looking into the problem of extremism, the problem of terrorism.
Aquí tenemos que mantener toda esta masa crítica de seguridad.
We need to cooperate with authorities. We need to help the authorities.
The responsibility is on our shoulders big.
We will come through this.
The exhibit resides in a state-of-the-art multimedia facility located in Denver's Daniel Libeskind-designed Civic Center Cultural Complex. We invite you to visit the cell and experience anyone, anytime, anywhere for yourself.
Terror is not a new weapon. Throughout history, it has been used by those who could not prevail, either by persuasion or example. But inevitably, they fail.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Larry A. Meisel, founder of the Counterterrorism Education Learning Lab, The Cell.
I'd like to personally thank all of you that are here this evening. It's really amazing that we have such broad-based community support. Those of you that have been to the cell, what you saw was just a small part of the depth that's available. Those that you haven't, I hope you'll visit with tickets you were handed out tonight as our guest. We think it's very important. Tonight we have an opportunity to engage with some of Western Hemisphere's leading security experts, and I want to welcome all of our distinguished panelists as well as guests in the audience. Before we begin, I'd like to extend my appreciation to Mayor John Hickenlooper and the Biennial of the Americas for co-hosting tonight's extraordinary event with us. Mayor Hickenlooper has demonstrated many times his support and leadership through continuing to be involved in international events in Denver, like the Biennial, as well as addressing serious issues that affect each and every one of us. We're very fortunate to have Mayor Hickenlooper as our leader here this evening and as our host. I'd like to also recognize U.S. Congressman Ed Perlmutter, Congressman Mike Kaufman, Senator Wayne Allard, and all of the other elected officials and council generals and dignitaries in the audience tonight. Your service and support of our mission is greatly appreciated. It is unbelievable that we as a community are stepping forward in our country and focusing on such a serious item. And those things that have happened, they wonder why Colorado. And when you look around at some of the things that have happened in Colorado, I think we all know it's important that we're all involved and we're focused. I'd like to thank the Honor Guard and the U.S. Stolen Strings for their outstanding performance. It was wonderful that they were here tonight. There are a number of organizations that have helped make this evening successful. And again, I'd like you to note who the participants are that are listed on the slide. Again, bringing together in our community everybody for the purpose of supporting this event, I believe is very, very important. There are also many individuals and other groups that are here tonight, and I appreciate your support in being here. I want to especially thank to our feature sponsor, the Denver Post, for their tremendous help in promoting the cell and the event here this evening. I would like to recognize the cell's board of directors, its leadership, Melanie Perlman and Courtney Meisel, and a staff of Christina and Kristen, who have done an excellent job, and Laura Teal and David Cohn, who have been instrumental in planning this evening's event. I now have the honor to introducing tonight's moderator, who is truly a statesman and a leader on these issues. He is someone that has been truly a friend of mine for, I think it seems like, several decades. Since retiring from the United States Senate, Senator Gary Hart has been extensively involved in international relations and is renowned for his expertise in international affairs and national security. He is the vice chair of the U.S. Homeland Security Advisory Council, and he is the chairman of the American Security Project and distinguished fellow at the New American Foundation. He was co-chair of the U.S. Commission on National Security for the 21st Century and co-chair the Council on Foreign Relations Task Force for Homeland Security. Senator Hart holds the Worth Chair at the University of Colorado School of Public Affairs. I could go on, but I'd like to introduce him now. A good friend of ours and a good friend of mine, Senator Gary Hart.
Thanks, Larry. Thank you very much. Larry, thank you very much. I joined the mayor in saying thanks to Larry Meisel, the Meisel family, and Meisel Enterprises for the contribution they have made to this community for many, many years. The cell is only the most recent, and the Meisel tradition lives on this evening most of all. This country was traumatized on 9/11 by the slaughter of 3,000 Americans. And we have come to believe that we are, if not the only, the principal target of terrorism in the world. But as the video showed, I think 8 or 9 or maybe even 10 cities in recent years have suffered similar attacks. What we Americans, I think, have to understand, and we are here tonight to discuss this, is that terrorism is not a national threat, it is an international threat. And for all the steps that we in America have taken to defend ourselves, we cannot do so without the thorough cooperation of our friends and allies around the world, and indeed, even countries with whom we have not been friendly over recent years. For example, the Russians are under terrorist threats tonight. We did not take those very seriously until we ourselves were attacked. But the list goes on, and as we acknowledge the fact that terrorism is indeed an international phenomenon and threat, we can also not permit the allegations of terrorism to shade our commitment to civil rights and civil liberties for people around the world. This is a delicate balance, and one that I think this panel tonight will discuss. I want very briefly to introduce our panelists. I could read their bios, but it would take a great deal of time. These are extraordinary individuals, and I want you to meet them. First of all, Ambassador William Brownfield, who has been the U.S. ambassador in the troubled country of Colombia for the last 3 years. He is a career Foreign Service officer, and his career has been spent largely in Latin America and in this hemisphere. He's had a number of postings in military and law enforcement affairs, and his posting to Colombia, as I said, began 3 years ago, and that in and of itself has led him to be an expert in the field we are to discuss tonight. Please welcome Ambassador Brownfield. I want you also to meet Commissioner Ralph Basham. He is the former Commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the Border Protection Agency, which employed at its peak 53,000 people. Prior to that, he was most distinguished for being the director of the Secret Service and was, in fact, a career Secret Service agent. And as the beneficiary for a number of months of Secret Service protection, I can tell you this is one of the most professional organizations in the United States or anywhere in the world. He has supervised federal responsibility for airport security since 9/11 and has held a number of most senior posts in national security. Say thank you to Commissioner Basham. We want to welcome a foreign guest, Mr. Oscar Morales Guevara. Mr. Morales is an extraordinary individual. As you can tell, he is young. He founded an organization that became a foundation called 1 Million Voices to raise public opposition against terrorism in his home country of Colombia. That inspired the creation of something called the Alliance of Youth Movements, created 2 years ago in 2008. And he was, as a result of this, appointed the youngest counselor to the UN's One Young World. He is a fellow at the present time of the George W. Bush Institute in Dallas, and he's recognized worldwide as one of the youngest organizers of public support in opposition to terrorism around the world. Say thank you to Mr. Morales. I have left our fourth panelist last on purpose. He is General Victor Renoir. Many of you know him because he has been most recently, and indeed until very recently, commander of both the Northern Command and the North American Aerospace Command, formerly NORAD, located in Colorado Springs. He has been a distinguished combat pilot, and he has been the principal military assistant to the Secretary of Defense. General Renoir retired after more than 39 years in the uniform of the United States of America, July the 1st of this year, less than a week ago. I would like for you to join me in saying thank you to him, and if you choose to do as I do, to stand in doing so, I welcome you. Thank you all very much.